I never imagined a muddy moment could change my life forever, until a stranger stepped in. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sky, heavy with clouds, mirrored the turmoil in my heart. I had stepped into the park, hoping for a few moments of solitude, a chance to breathe, but instead found chaos. My feet sunk into the thick mud, a silent trap that clung to my shoes as the drizzle turned into a torrential downpour. Panic surged. Cold water cascaded, mixing with the sludge. I could feel my chest tightening, breath hitching in my throat. Around me, the world was a blur of frantic movements. People rushed past, umbrellas flipping inside out, faces drenched and distorted by the rain. I was paralyzed, a lone figure caught in the storm. My thoughts were lost in the crushing weight of loss. I was grieving my mother, who had been the sun in my cloudy life. She had been my anchor, and all of a sudden, everything felt like it was eroding. As I trembled, tears mingled with the rain, blurring my vision. Suddenly, a figure appeared before me, a stranger. He was tall, soaked to the bone, with a fierce determination in his eyes. "Hey, are you okay?" he shouted over the pounding rain. I hesitated, unsure if I should trust a single soul. But then, just like that, his warmth wrapped around my shivering body. It felt like a promise of hope that he offered his hand, and despite my doubt, I took it. He pulled me up as if my weight was a feather, lifting me from the mud's grip. Our eyes locked, and in that brief moment, something shifted. This wasn't just a random act of kindness. There was a spark, a connection that felt both foreign and familiar. But why was he here, in the middle of this storm, ready to rescue someone he didn't know? The question lingered like the smell of wet earth that surrounded us. What was his story? Who was this stranger who seemed to sense my despair? As the rain lessened, leaving puddles behind, the tension hung thick in the air. I could sense my heart racing, not just from fear, but from intrigue. I didn't know him, yet I felt a pull to understand who he was, what brought him to me. But just then, from a distance, a fading scream sliced through the silence, pulling my gaze away from him. Where had it come from? What did it mean? My heart thudded relentlessly, fear clawing at my gut. Was I about to unravel an even darker layer of my reality? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The scream echoed again, sharper this time, slicing through the weather's symphony. My vision darted, seeking the source of the anguish that intertwined with the rain-soaked chaos surrounding us. In that moment, everything faded. The stranger's warm grip on my hand, the muddy ground beneath my feet, all that mattered was the haunting cry of despair that called to me. "Stay close," the stranger said, urgency peppering his voice as he pulled me away from the safety of the tree we had taken refuge under. He led me towards the sounds, each step heavy with the proclamation of fate. The rain had calmed, but the weight of uncertainty lay thick in the air. The path took us around a bend, and then, my heart plummeted. There, at the edge of the park's pond, a woman knelt, clutching a small, struggling dog in her arms, its fur matted with muck. She sobbed, her shoulders shaking with every breath she took. "Help me!" she gasped, desperation roiling in her eyes. Before I knew it, I was rushing forward, propelled by instinct rather than thought. The stranger followed closely, his concern etched across his face as we approached her. "What happened?" I asked, feeling the panic crawl back into my chest. The woman looked up, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He fell in, and I couldn't reach him in time. He's so scared." Her voice cracked, and every syllable felt like a live wire. The little dog pawed at her, defeated yet trying desperately to cling to the life it almost lost. The stranger wasted no time. He knelt down beside the woman, looking straight into her teary eyes. "We need to get him out of the water. Can you hold him still?" he asked gently. With a small nod, she tightened her grip, her face marred by anguish yet illuminated by the stranger's composure, that I didn't pause to think, instinctively grabbed the scruff of the little dog, wading into the muddy edge of the pond. Just as I pulled him free from the water's grasp, the leash he wore, flimsy and drenched, slipped through my fingers. In that nightmare of water, the dog splashed back, pulling me with him, but this time, the stranger was there. He lunged forward, grabbing my arm and yanking me back alongside him, and in that instance, our bodies collided. My heart raced, not just from the terror of nearly losing myself to the watery depths, but from the rush of warmth that came from standing so close to him. "We can't lose him again," I shouted, no longer myself but a cacophony of fear, hope, desperation, all wrapped in a single heartbeat. The stranger did not falter, eyes locked on the pitiful creature as it paddled frantically. "On three," he said, determination bleeding into every word. 1, 2, 3. Together we reached in, hands clasping the dog's slippery little body, pulling it free from danger. The moment we heaved it onto the grassy bank, the woman collapsed, holding the trembling dog against her, and sobbing in relief that "I am so sorry. I'm so sorry," she kept repeating, surrounded by gratitude and guilt as the little creature licked her face, reviving each moment of joy eclipsed by fear. As I straightened, laughter bubbled in the stranger's throat, a sound so pure it washed over the grim chaos surrounding us. "You did it," he said, his gaze meeting mine with an intensity that made my heart skip. In the depth of his eyes, I felt a strange sense of recognition and peace, a breath of life amid the darkness, but before I could respond, the woman suddenly gasped again, this time out of shock, eyes wide as she looked up at us. "Thank you. You saved him." "But wait, I recognize you, Yuri, that guy from the shelter, the one who brought in the strays." My heart sank at her words, the world around us warping into something I couldn't quite comprehend. The revelation knotted my stomach. He was no stranger, he was someone tied to a world I had long avoided. Could he be connected to my own unfolding tragedy, and what would that mean for me? Just as I opened my mouth to ask, the woman's phone chimed, and she looked at the screen, her expression morphing into shock and disbelief. I have to go," she said abruptly, stumbling back as the weight of her loss was suddenly thrust upon her again. My son is missing." The ground beneath me felt unstable as a sense of foreboding wrapped around our little sanctuary. My heart raced, questions spiraling through my mind. Had I just pulled one grieving heart from the storm, only to be confronted with another? What darkness still lingered on this day? I turned to the stranger, but the moment I did, he was already looking past me, his face suddenly pale. As distant sirens wailed in the background, the world around us froze, leaving only the taste of silence as the next phase of our lives contemplated its unsettling arrival. I could feel the threads of our destinies unraveling, and everything hung in the balance as reality widened its cruel gaze. The rain began to pour once more, heavy droplets crashing against the ground like the weight of our collective fears. I stood frozen, watching the woman fumble with her phone as the sirens drew closer, its high-pitched wail cutting through the heavy air like a sword. The stranger's expression morphed, shifting from triumph to a disquiet that seeped into the atmosphere like an unwelcome fog. "What's happening?" I asked, my voice barely a breath as he turned to me, a flicker of something concern, perhaps dancing in the depths of his gaze. I don't know," he stammered, lost in his own thoughts. The woman had clutched the dog tightly now, her knuckles white against its sodden fur. It had become the last tether in the storm of her despair. "Please," she implored, her voice trembling as she looked around frantically, "you have to help me find my son. He has to be out there somewhere." The plea struck a chord deep within me. I recalled my own struggles, the gnawing emptiness of a loved one lost, the echoing silence that followed. I knew that kind of anguish, that relentless urgency that could turn the mundane into an insurmountable mountain. "I can help," I offered, stepping forward, the dread in my chest replaced momentarily by a flicker of determination. "We can look for him together," the woman nodded, hope rekindling in her tear-stained eyes. The stranger shifted beside me, uncertainty cloaking him, but the need for action overshadowed his hesitation. He seemed to read my thoughts, as if we were two sides of the same coin, each facing our own battles yet united in this moment of crisis. "Let's go," he urged, and we formed a ragged line, two strangers caught in a web of fate, while she clutched her dog tightly, the small creature's whimpers underscoring the urgency of our mission. I could feel tension thrumming between the three of us, a frayed connection that yearned for healing. As we approached the park's edge, I traced the paths worn by endless visitors, once full of joy, now marred by tangible sorrow. The wind blew hastily, whispering terrible secrets that rattled my very core. But in the chaos, small moments of hope flickered in the distance: a child's laughter hidden behind trees, the soft coo of a mourning dove above us. Over there, the woman cried suddenly, pointing towards a cluster of trees. My breath caught as I instinctively neared the edge of the woodland. The wind held its breath, and I turned back to the stranger, a question bubbling forth. "Will you help?" He locked eyes with me, and for a brief instant, I felt an unspoken promise quivering in the air, binding us despite the heavy weight of uncharted grief. Our hearts beat in sync as we stepped into the unknown together, the world outside this tangled moment nothing but distant noise. We scoured the trees, calling out the little boy's name, voices echoing through the canopy. Each silent pause that followed felt like a punch to the gut. Shadows played tricks on my mind, each rustle of leaves morphing into frantic giggles, then vanishing into eerie silence. After what felt like hours, the woman knelt down, her determination faltering. "I can't lose him," she murmured, her voice cracking as raw dread filled the air. "My love for him, it's all I have left." Her vulnerability seeped into me, anchoring the fear I had buried so deeply within myself. "He wouldn't want you to give up," I said softly, stepping towards her. The weight of my own heartache hung between us, creating an invisible bridge forged from shared grief. Just as hope seemed to flicker like a candle about to die, a faint cry emerged from deeper within the woods. My heart quickened, tearing me away from the moment as I turned towards the sound. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, excitement bubbling through the fear. "Yes. That's him." She shot to her feet, adrenaline surging as we pushed deeper into the greenery, but all of a sudden, the air shifted, heavy and foreboding. A low growl emerged from the thicket, freezing me in place. The stranger moved instinctively in front of the woman, shielding her as we peered into the shadows. A dog appeared from behind the trees, but it wasn't the little boy's companion. It was larger, teeth bared, ready to defend its territory. "Back up. Slowly," the stranger warned, his voice steady despite the tremor of fear that lurked beneath. Then a flash of movement caught my eye, a figure darting deeper into the woods. "Wait!" I shouted, adrenaline igniting my instincts. My feet propelled me forward, bringing me closer to whatever awaited me. The figure turned, and my heart seemed to know the truth before my mind could catch up. That it was him. The boy's familiar, tear-streaked face, framed by tangled hair. In that moment, the world erupted. Each step I took towards him felt freighted, my heart pounding against my ribs. I could hear the woman's hoarse sob, the distant rumble of sirens merging with my own racing heartbeat. "I found him." I called out into the chaotic expanse, the weight of hope wrapping around me with each word, but just as I reached the boy, his expression shifted, fear clouding his innocent gaze. "Stay back," he cried, stumbling backward as shadows flickered behind him, and then the growl escalated, a low and chilling sound that filled the air, reminding me that not all shadows held the light I sought. With the boy's fearful eyes locked onto mine, each breath felt like a fragile promise hanging in the balance. I could almost hear the sound of my own heartbeat as I slowly crouched down, hoping to bridge the gap between us, my voice gentle yet firm. "It's okay. You're safe now." "I'm here," but the boy recoiled further, every instinct screaming at him to run from the forest and the chaos nestled within it. I felt the tension in the air thicken like fog. The growling behind him held a threat that seeped into the very ground we stood upon, its malevolence curling around us like smoke. The stranger moved closer, effortlessly bridging the space I had created, while the woman's voice trembled, pleading for her son to come to her. "It's okay, baby. Just take a step forward, I promise I'll hold you tight." Her eyes shone with desperate love, yet the weight of her words hung in the balance, uncertain. Suddenly, the growling morphed into a series of fierce barks. A rustling from the underbrush revealed the large black dog that had claimed this territory, its stance protective, and unwelcome tension rippled through the air. Instead of retreating, my resolve stiffened. "I'll get him," I murmured under my breath, steeling myself. I shifted the weight of uncertainty from my heart and looked at the boy again. "Please trust me," I urged softly as I took another small step forward, lowering my body to be less imposing. "I'm right here with you. Your mom needs you." His small frame trembled, but for a fleeting instant, a glimmer of recognition flickered in his gaze. I watched, entranced, as he took a tiny step, the tension in the air quivering with potential. But before he could break the barrier of fear, the growling intensified, becoming an overwhelming chorus of chaos. The black dog went on full alert, manifesting its primal instincts. With another fierce bark, it lunged forward, seemingly oblivious to the tenuous threads connecting us. "Stay behind me," the stranger shouted, moving instinctively to protect the woman, who was already frozen in place as panic clutched her heart. "Wait," I said, adrenaline surging through every fiber of my being as I made a snap decision. Turning to the boy, I reached out my hand, a silent gesture of warmth amidst the turmoil. "Come, please, right now. I'll shield you." But just as I extended my arm, the growling morphed into a frenzied snarl, and I felt the cold brush of wind against my back as the stranger barreled toward the dog, a protective wall between it and the woman, their bond forged from shared urgency. My heart ached, knowing that in this moment of vulnerability, we were all fighting our own inner demons. The shadows enveloped me as I waited for the boy to take a chance, my hands still outstretched. "Please," I breathed, feeling the weight of my own childhood flash before meth lost years of loneliness, the pain of abandonment. The boy was everything I once was, trapped in a moment filled with fear. In an unexpected moment of clarity, he took a shaky breath and, gathering everything within him, rushed towards me. His small hand grasped mine tightly, and a wave of relief washed over me, intermingled with pure terror. But no sooner had I gripped his hand than I heard the piercing howl of the dog reverberate through the forest. Time slowed as the creature lunged toward us, teeth bared, full of primal rage. "No!" I screamed, shifting to shield the boy at all costs. The world narrowed into a heartbeat, a moment pregnant with choices, risk illuminated in its entirety. Would I protect him with everything I had? Would the darkness consume us both? In that single breath, I felt the stranger's presence behind me, luminescent with resolve. "Get him to safety," he roared, rallying against the dog, diverting its attention for just a moment. "Run!" As if propelled by instinct, I turned, tugging the boy behind me as we sprinted toward the tree's edge, every fear and doubt falling away. Desperation surged within me, it echoed the frantic pounding of our hearts, urging us forward, but as we burst into the clearing, free from the tangled chaos of the trees, a pulse of doubt struck me. Where was the woman? I glanced back, panic clawing at my mind, the reality of our choices flooding in with each passing second. The stranger was still engaged in battle with the dog, his silhouette stiff against its furious temper. Tearing my gaze from the struggle, I gripped the boy's hand tighter. "We have to go," I shouted, willing him with everything I had to run faster. Just as we reached the edge, the boy stopped abruptly. "But my mom," he cried, guilt weaving through his voice, causing a crack in my own heart. There, frozen in the chaos, I saw the silhouette of the woman, caught between the desperation of her love and the danger that had overtaken her. And without thinking, I called out to her, "We're here. Come with us. You can make it." But her eyes met mine, and in that fleeting moment, a darkness swept over us all. A chilling realization sank deep into my bones. The sirens were closer, but it didn't matter who would be saved first. The love of a mother, caught in the bind of loss and fear, had created a rift that I feared might be insurmountable. Waves of uncertainty swept over me as I pulled the boy closer, our breaths mingling with the storm that had started to subside above us, the world slowing to an agonizing crawl. If one of us didn't make it back, would my sacrifice mean anything? The growl behind us dislodged thoughts of courage and love, and with gritted teeth, I realized that our struggle was just beginning. "Please," I shouted again, my voice shaking. "We can't leave you. We won't leave you." But the howl of fate echoed louder, unveiling the truth that lay ahead, a truth that threatened the bridge we had all shared. And in that very moment, a reality dawned upon me, igniting a flicker of dread. What if this mud-stained day was only the prelude to a far more perilous journey ahead? The world around us felt suspended in an agonizing stasis, the forest still echoing the chaos of the encounter. My lungs burned with panic, the urgency to move propelling me or perhaps anchoring me in place, caught between fear and fleeting hope. The boy, clutching my hand with a grip that felt as fragile as the branch beneath our feet, stared imploringly at his mother, whose eyes shimmered with desperation. "Mom." His voice quivered, a delicate thread binding him to the wild emotions swirling in the air. I watched as she stood frozen, the weight of 1,000 what-ifs pressing down upon her. It struck me then this was not merely the innocence of a child longing for safety, this was a mother torn between instinct and obligation, love and fear. The growl of the dog broke the spell, fierce and low, a blunt reminder of the peril we were steeped in. "We have to act," I urged, willing my voice to carry the authority the moment demanded. "You can run. We'll help you." But she shook her head, fear and uncertainty clouding her eyes. "I can't leave him. Not without knowing he's safe." Her voice, although strong, trembled like leaves caught in a storm. "Please," I pleaded, my heart aching in time with her anguish. "We can protect him. We can protect you, too. Together." The shadows pooled around us as the stranger grappled with the black dog, the tension building like a taut string ready to snap. "Get to safety." He screamed again, but his face bore the toll of unyielding desperation. I knew whatever was binding him there was more than courage. It was the weight of his own demons that he refused to abandon another victim to this nightmarish forest. The moment stretched beyond its bounds. The boy looked from his mother's eyes to mine, seeking understanding and anchor in the swirling storm of emotions. "I don't want to go without her," he cried out, his voice cracking. I could feel the cast of his abandonment mirrored in my own memories, the echoes of love lost clawing at the edges. Yet, time bore no sympathy. I knew the weight of indecision had consequences. "You have to trust me," I implored, struggling with the burden of his trust and the instinct to shield him from the dark tides threatening us. "If we don't go now, we may lose all hope." With every passing moment, the growl became an angry crescendo, punctuating the agony of our choice. The woman's gaze locked onto the boy's face, her resolve slowly morphing into a willingness to let go even as it shattered her inside. Behind me, the stranger fought valiantly, his silhouette interwoven with the night, a testament to desperation and unwavering courage. In that moment of reckoning, where split-second decisions could alter destinies, the boy's hand tightened around mine, his eyes gleaming with tears that reflected both terror and bravery. "I trust you," he whispered, a confession that seemed to echo through the dark thicket, gleaming with the purity of a child's belief. "Then we run," I shouted, feeling a tether of hope weave itself around a fragile, gossamer thread, but a connection nonetheless. As I turned to pull the boy along, I glimpsed at the woman one final time, an unspoken question lingering in the air between us. Did she see the pathway illuminated before her, even in the midst of despair? Or would she remain entrapped by her own fears caught in the storm that had defined her life, now? I urged, yet the boy faltered, torn by the gnashing sounds behind us. "Mom. Please." The woman's tears cascaded down her cheeks, and I felt as if we were standing on a precipice, two lives connected by circumstance and foreboding, yet teetering on the edge of an unfathomable choice. Her anguish seemed to flow through time like a river, saturating every crevice of our existence, desperately seeking solace in resolution. Finally, something shifted in her expression. Perhaps it was resignation, or perhaps, just perhaps, a flicker of hope ignited there. "Okay, I'll follow. I'll trust you," she whispered, only just audible above the cacophony. In that moment, the earth felt charged, as if fate had conspired to weave our lives all together into a delicate tapestry. The chain of hope shimmered alive again, and I felt the whisper of the impossible curling amongst the roots of this harrowed forest, a promise that perhaps, against all odds, we could escape what lay behind. But before we could take that step, a sudden surge of wind washed over us. The trees shivered, and the growl of the dog morphed into a haunting howl, reverberating across the clearing, filled with grim foreboding. Before I could react, a flash of motion caught my eye. Another shadowy figure emerged from the depth of the forest, moving towards the chaos. A face I recognized, and eyes familiar yet haunted. It was someone I'd thought lost, someone I had long tried to forget. A life entwined in tragedy that might just change the course of everything, the very fabric of our fleeting hopes and deepest fears. As the new figure approached, a chilling realization engulfed me. A ripple of danger washed over the air, and the moment stretched once again, the weight of impending truth pulling at the edges of my sanity. What entanglement had the universe spun now? And would our fleeting escape turn into a harrowing nightmare, entrenching us deeper into a darkness from which we might never escape? The sudden appearance of the figure sent a jolt through me, a visceral recognition swallowed whole by fear. My heart raced, caught in a tumult between nostalgia and dread, memories threatening to flood my vision. "No," I whispered, barely audible over the frantic beating of my heart. The boy beside me looked at me, confusion mixed with concern painted across his small features. "Who is it?" he asked, clutching tighter to my side, his body stiffening. The mother's gaze darted nervously between me and the mysterious figure approaching with calculated steps, the very air around us thick with uncertainty. "Someone I thought I'd never see again," I murmured, my pulse throbbing against my temples. The figure stepped further into the moonlight, revealing the face I recognized all too well, the shadows of a soul I believed were long buried. That it was Lila, my sister, her expression unreadable beneath the tangled mess of sorrow that marked her features. Her presence was simultaneously a balm and a wound, healing and festering, a bittersweet concoction that pulled me sharply into memories of laughter, warmth, and loss. Years had passed since we last stood together, a lifetime spent in the shadows of unspoken words and unresolved anger. "Why are you here?" I called out, drawing a breath that trembled at the edges. "You shouldn't be here. You could be in danger." She cut me off, her voice sharp yet laced with an unfamiliar softness. "You're in danger, too. I came to find you." Every inch of my being wanted to recoil, to slam shut the door to this reunion that felt as treacherous as it was healing. But instead, I stood rooted, my breath hitching as I struggled to piece together why she would risk everything to come back. "Find me?" After all this time, her eyes flickered with a myriad of emotions, a tempest of regret and assurance. "I never stopped looking for you. But I was caught. Something's coming, something that seeks us." The mother spoke up, voice quaking as she edged closer to her son. "What do you mean by something? Please, we need clarity." "We can't be in the dark," she urged desperately, her maternal instincts piercing through her own fear. The boy nodded, eyes shifting back and forth, seeking safety in our growing circle of faces. "It's not just the dog," Lila said, her voice low yet determined, drawing nearer with the urgency that echoed through the woods with every rustle of leaves and distant snap of branches. "It's something deeper, something ancient sleeping beneath this forest, awakened by our presence. It knows what we fear, and it feeds on it." That I could almost hear the collective drawing of breath around me, the weight of her confession cascading through our fragile bubble of safety. For a second, I wished it could simply be the ravings of a paranoid Minda-fever dream in the moonlight, but deep down, I realized this was Lila, the one person haunted by truths I could no longer escape. The growl of the dog, still present, turned visceral, a dire reminder of the threat looming just beyond the tree line, bitterness thickening the air. "We can't stay here," I urged, glancing from my sister to the mother and her son, seeking answers in their eyes. "If what you say is true, we need to move." "We can't run blindly," Lila replied, a glimmer of determination sparking in her gaze. "We need to find the heart of the forest, where the darkness is buried. Only there can we confront it, only there can we free ourselves of its grip." "But what if we can't?" I pressed, fear reclaiming its hold as it churned in the pit of my stomach. "What if it does something to us?" The shadows encroached, creeping closer, an ever-present reminder that the darkness was unfathomably alive around us. For a fleeting moment, Lila seemed to sense my hesitation. In that tremulous silence, she reached out, her hand brushing against mine. "I know we lost each other, but we can find our way back together," she promised, sincerity filtering through the remnants of our fractured bond. In that single heartbeat, vulnerability crackled in the fragile space between USA tether against the unraveling dark. But as the howls of desire and danger intermingled, the weight of uncertainty hung heavily on my heart. Could trust be reforged amid the ruins of our past, or would it shatter, leaving us scattered like the debris in the forest? Then, a blood-curdling howl ripped through the air, ripping my thoughts from their sanctuary, pushing us all back into reality. The dog's eyes glowed malevolently from its shadowy perch, the surrounding darkness shifting, undulating, as if the forest itself were shifting in anticipation of the climax to come. "Let's go," I shouted, my voice firm in the grasp of rising fear. But as we started to move, the twisted limbs of an unseen force gripped our feet, a sudden surge of energy darting through the ground beneath us. We stumbled, thrown off balance, as the woods echoed with a new kind of terror, one that promised to swallow us whole if we did not act swiftly. "Together," I urged again, a mantra emerging amidst the chaos thrumming in my veins. But for how long could we hold on to this fragile hope, this tenuous connection, as we stood at the precipice of the unknown? And then, I caught a glimpse of a figure, cloaked and angular, darting through the woods ahead of us, its purpose unclear yet undeniably compelling. Before the realization could sink in, the promise of a new challenge loomed, swaddled in shadows, darker and deeper than our own. That fleeting second, I had to wonder, was this the salvation we sought, or an even darker path leading us further into despair? Whatever the truth, united in uncertainty, the prospect of the end felt overwhelming, sharp like the wilderness surrounding us, a reality we might never escape. The woods were alive with an oppressive weight, the air thick with anticipation as I struggled to process Lilith's warnings while navigating through an unfamiliar terrain darkened by impending threats. I felt the boy's small hand entwined with mine, the softness of his grip somehow grounding me, and at the same time, a stark reminder of what was at stake. As we moved deeper into the shadows, whispers of the unseen crept closer, brushing against our skin like cold fingers. Lila's promise to face the darkness together echoed in my heart, each step resonating with a mixture of defiance and trembling fear. The boy pulled on my arm, his youthful innocence a fragile tether in the uncertainties that loomed ahead. "Are we going to be okay?" he whispered, his eyes wide and glimmering with unshed tears. "That I don't know," I admitted, the rawness of my honesty cutting through my resolve. My instinct was to shield him from fear, but in that moment there was no comfort to be found in false reassurances. I could only hope the strength within us was enough to see us through. Lila pressed forward, her expression fierce yet vulnerable. "Stay close to me," she instructed, her voice steady despite the fear that flickered beneath the surface. She glanced over her shoulder, her gaze scanning the darkness with an almost predatory intensity, as if seeking out the threats that lurked just out of sight. Every few heartbeats, we halted to listen, ears straining for the unmistakable echoes of the Forster rustle, a snap, the growl of the lurking beast that was more than just a dog. Each sound sent shivers racing down my spine. I fought against the paralyzing grip of panic threatening to overwhelm me, trying to remain centered for the boy, for Lila, for myself. Suddenly, a flicker of light burst through the trees ahead, casting a fragile golden hue through the veil of dusk. "There!" Lila pointed, her voice rising with urgency. "It could be a way out, or it could lead us to whatever is causing this darkness. Either way, we can't stand still." Her determination surged, igniting a spark of courage within me. In moments like these, the world narrowed to the simplest truths, fear and hope coiled together, inseparable companions. Taking a deep breath, I nodded, urging the boy closer under my protective wing. As we approached the light, the landscape opened, revealing a small clearing bathed in ethereal glow. Moonlight spilled over the ground, illuminating a series of stones arranged in a pattern that pulsed with energy, a strange alignment that gnawed at my gut. Whatever this place was, it felt like a heartbeat, alive and throbbing against the stillness of the night. "Do you feel that?" I asked, instinctively seeking Lilith's validation. She paused, her eyes widening, taking in the sight with a mix of awe and wariness. It's a gathering place," she breathed, almost reverently. "Ancient magic. Rituals were performed here long ago, rituals." The word wrapped around us like a shroud, enticing yet foreboding. Something about this space felt poised, teetering on the brink of revelation. Whether it was salvation or doom remained uncertain. Suddenly, a whisper caught my ear, a gentle breeze sweeping through the clearing, drawing me closer to the stones. It hummed beneath my skin, resonating within me in a way that demanded attention. "This feels important," I murmured, stepping further into the light. "Wait." Lilith's voice rang out, her hand clutched tight around my wrist. "Don't approach it, we need to understand what it's doing first." But it was too late, the allure of the unknown beckoned irresistibly. As I stood before the stones, a dazzling rush of visions flooded my mind, the echoes of laughter and warmth and an endless archive of memories intertwined with the very essence of the forest. Faces flickered before me, blurry yet achingly familiar. Among them, I caught a glimpse of my younger self, running alongside Lila beneath a canopy of vibrant leaves, laughter rippling like a stream through our shared childhood. And oh, I gasped, jolted back into the moment, the weight of nostalgia pulling at my heart. Yet there was something darker lurking behind those golden memories, shadows threading through the light, whispering secrets too terrifying to grasp fully. The boy stirred, his face pale as he scanned the darkness that clawed at the edges of the clearing. "What's wrong?" he asked, confusion heavy in his tone. "It's not just a memory," I stammered, my voice tremulous as I realized the unsettling truth. "It's a trap." With that realization, the whispering intensified, transforming into seductive calls that echoed through my mind, digging at my vulnerabilities. A chill swept through the clearing, and as if responding to my dread, the air around us thickened like fog, making it hard to breathe. And then, from the very stones, a low hum began, vibrating through the ground, an incantation, perhaps, or a warning, something urging us to awaken the truth buried deep within. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, a sudden thud erupted from the trees behind us. I turned sharply, my heart racing, as a figure emerged from the shadows, a twisted silhouette, draped in darkness, eyes glinting with hunger. It was neither dog nor man, but something in between, and with its looming presence, I felt every ounce of hope slip through my fingers like sand. I felt Lila tighten her grip on my wrist, her breath shallow and shaky, as we stood on the cusp of panic-stricken decisions and uncharted fears. "Run!" she shouted, the command slicing through the despair that threatened to engulf us. But could we escape? Or were we running straight into the heart of the oncoming storm? As the creature loomed closer, its intentions malevolent, one thing was undeniably clear: the real battle had only just begun. And just when I thought everything had reached its peak, the forest whispered a truth too devastating to bear. The figure had not come to chase us away. It had been waiting, biding time, drawing us back into the fold. In that moment, I couldn't help but wonder, was I weak for wanting to succumb, or strong enough to finally confront the truth lurking within this dire prophecy, entwined with our pasts? The forest felt alive, its heartbeat now intertwined with my own, each rapid thrum echoing the urgency of our plight. A frigid knot coiled in my stomach as I realized that not only did we have a creature of the shadows trailing us, but we were also confronted with the haunting whispers of our own yesterdays, memories twisted like thorny vines. "Help us!" I shouted into the darkness, an instinct born from desperation. The words hung in the air, pregnant with uncertainty. Did I truly believe that nothing more than a plea could summon safety from the creeping chaos? I was met with silence, no gentle rustling of leaves, no crackle of branches, just the oppressive weight of fear cloaking us like a second skin. We stumbled backward, Lila's grip tightening on my arm, while the boy's innocent face twisted in confusion, a mirror to my own tangled thoughts. "What do we do?" he whispered, his small voice trembling and filled with an urgency that threatened to fray my heart. "First, we don't panic," I managed to say, though my own internal storm raged unabated. "Stay close." With every second, I felt time stretch out like taffy, every heartbeat a countdown to an inevitable confrontation. The creature advanced slowly, as if relishing our fear, a subtle predator testing its prey. Its eyes glowed like embers in the dark. I could sense the depth of its hunger, the greed it held. And despite my instincts screaming at me to flee, a part of me yearned for clarity. Maybe there was a story woven within this nightmare, awaiting revelation, a road I could navigate toward understanding. Suddenly, it paused, a low growl rumbling from its throat. Was it assessing us? Or was it deciding just how to break us? I clung to Lila's reassuring presence, striving to maintain control as I scanned my surroundings. The stones stood impassive, an ancient defense or perhaps a trap laid long ago. Then the ground beneath our feet shuddered. I looked down to see roots and vines starting to writhe, as if responding to the creature's presence. They reached hungrily toward us, snaking through the soft earth, tugging at my ankles as if demanding our surrender. "Run now!" Lila yelled again, her voice cutting through the clamoring noise inside my head. Before I could process her words, she yanked me and the boy toward a knot of trees ahead, the only cover in this bare, revealing clearing. But as we darted into the thicket, the air shimmered, distorting our surroundings, and for a heartbeat, the world around us twisted. Before us stood a vague figure, cloaked in shadows yet exuding a sense of warmth. I caught my breath, compelled to believe in the light radiating from this apparition even as my mind warned me against it. Who were they? Follow me, the voice beckoned, soothingly familiar, yet laced with an urgency that struck deep. Something deep in my gut told me this was no mere distraction, this figure was tied to our quest. I felt Lilith's hesitance at my side, her instinct still alert, weighing the choice before us. That I can feel something, I whispered, the words tumbling out before I could pull them back. Almost like we're meant to find them. The strange figure turned, revealing a faint smile, one that felt both inviting and sorrowful. I felt it resonate within me, like a note in a haunting melody, a recognition that surged forth from the depths of my spirit. The boy looked uncertain, I could see the panic bubbling in his eyes. Are they good? No answer came, but as we followed the figure deeper into the woods, branches seemed to bend aside, creating a path that felt alive with promise. My heart raced with possibility, the inner turmoil of fear battling against the flicker of hope igniting with each step. Just as I thought we could break free from the darkness, the whisperings transformed. They grew louder, morphing into haunting echoes of laughter and sorrow. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were mocking us, ensnaring us in memories I had worked so hard to suppress. It became harder to breathe as shadows loomed larger, feeling more tangible, leaching away the serenity that had briefly filled the air. Suddenly, Lila stopped, pulling me back. Did you hear that? Her eyes narrowed, locking onto the shadows pooling behind us, whispering dark secrets. Your past, the figure interjected, their voice now an echo bouncing through my mind, sending shivers across my skin. It seeks you. Here in this forest, you have to confront the things you've run from. The ground quaked beneath our feet, and the boy's hands slipped from mine in surprise. I turned, panic clawing at my chest, only to see the creature once more, no longer distant but very much present, and it lunged forward. As I reached for the boy, my fingers brushed against nothing. Nesh was gone. Heart pounding, I swiveled back, confusion and dread trickling through my veins like ice. Where is he? I demanded, knowing that this forest was a labyrinth of lies, shadows playing tricks on my mind. It's time to choose, the shadowed figure told us. Embrace the truth or lose everything. The veil of darkness around us pressed in, squeezing out hope until I could barely see. In its depths, every fear I had ever held took form. I took a breath, uncertain if I was terrified to move forward or too afraid to look back. In that moment of agonizing indecision, I felt the ground tremble beneath me again, a ferocious warning that change was coming, but I was not ready for what was next. The forest quieted for a second, and then I heard Ida's soft voice slicing through the silence like glass, moaning my name. The boy. My heart sank deep into despair even as the shadows closed in. With everything around me teetering in chaos, all I could think was, I never imagined a moment could change everything forever, yet here I stood, on the precipice of a revelation that might tear us apart or bind us closer than we'd ever been. It was a gamble I couldn't predict, and I had to confront the choice that lay within me before the darkness consumed everything I loved. The echoes in the forest settled into a thick silence that felt like a weight on my chest. The boy's whisper of my name wrapped around me like a vine, pulling me deeper into despair. I struggled to focus on the shadowed figure before me, yearning for their light to pierce through the enveloping darkness. Where is he? I repeated, my voice now a fragile whisper, clawing for answers in the oblivion encroaching upon us. The figure's expression softened, revealing a glimpse of sympathy, but their gaze drifted past me, towards the writhing shadows. He is closer than you think, but you must unburden your heart first, they said, each word a gentle reminder of a truth I had avoided. Unburden my heart? Was that really what was standing between us and salvation? I swallowed hard, irritation mixing with my sorrow. What do you mean? I felt small, trapped in a cage stitched from my own fears, while visions of the boy's frightened face danced just out of reach, an endless tightening knot of worry coiling within me. The cloaked figure took a step closer, their presence a warm glow in the cold darkness. You carry the weight of your past, they murmured. It has taken root in your soul, binding you to regret. Release it, and you may find your way back. Regret. The word struck me like a lashing whip, snapping open memories I had long locked away. The whimsical laughter with my parents during sunlit picnics, the warmth of their embrace. What had become of those moments? All I could recall now were the whispers of arguments, the coldness that came with loss, and my own inability to reconcile these memories into something whole. But grappling with the darkness that lived within me felt impossible, a task to which I was wholly unmade. I had come to this forest seeking reprieve, not to unravel the very fabric of my being. I can't, I trembled, feeling the shadows tighten around me, ready to consume the fragile resolve I had fought so hard to maintain. Lila stepped forward, her hand clasping mine tightly as if she could ground me against the fears that threatened to sweep me away. "You're not alone," she said, her voice steadying me. "We're in this together." The boy's echo faded, replaced by an unsettling absence that deepened the anxiety gnawing at my insides. I scanned the woods, desperate to catch a glimpse of him, but he remained shrouded in the chaotic mist, his presence a mere memory of comfort. "What if it's too late?" I murmured, the hollow sound of my own words surprising me. "That it is never too late," the figure replied, their voice resonating with a poignant warmth. "Yet until you face what holds you back, it may feel like it is." That I could see Lila's steadfast determination reflected in her eyes, a reminder that together, we could venture through the shadows. But my heart still ached for the boy. I needed to find him and pull him back to safety. The figure seemed to sense my discord. "The truth lies within the confrontation," they said, gesturing toward the twisting shadows. That I could feel the crushing silence throbbing in the air as a surge of anger flickered within me. "You keep talking about truth, but it feels like a trap." The silence broke as shadows crept nearer, weaving around me like tendrils of smoke. I gripped Lila's hand tighter, fear igniting the edges of my resolve. "Face it," the figure cried, their voice a sudden storm in the quiet. "Your truth is your power. Without it, you will remain lost forever." As the shadows began to swirl, the ground trembled once again beneath our feet. I felt the cool forest air shift, charged with energy, urgency at the cusp of overwhelming chaos. What if facing it means losing everything? My heart thrummed with anguish, the shadows seemed to pulsate in response. Swallowing my words, the figure stepped back, allowing the darkness to project onto my path a familiar scene weaving its way through the fog. And there were images I knew all too well, pictures of my past haunting me. A confrontation with my parents' words that cut too deep, grievances that never healed. "I failed you," I whispered to the fading figures of my memories, voices from a life I felt I could never reclaim. The shift in the shadows deepened, and the boy, our mission, our hope, everything tumbled into the void while I stood paralyzed in the weight of my regrets. But in that moment, as that reality flickered like an unsteady candle, a voice broke through, fierce and tender, bridging the chasm of my fears. "The past is only an echo," Lila said, squeezing my hand as she stepped into the image. "We have the power to forge our future. It is not lost to use it's right here, right now." With newfound urgency, I pressed forward, fighting against the crushing waves of memory. The shadows trembled at my resolve, but I felt my heart pulse with a different kind of fear, the fear of letting go. I could not rewrite history, but perhaps I could embrace it. And then, it happened. The boy's voice rang louder, clearer. "Help me," he cried, panic lacing his tone, reverberating through the chaos. My heart skipped violently as if struck by lightning. I dashed ahead, leaping into the fray. The shadows crowed around me, but I could not allow them to suffocate the light within. Lila was right. I would fight for him. As I pushed through the dark veil, I felt strength surging as I forced each encoded memory open, allowing them to collide with the light sought deep within my heart. But just as clarity began to break through the fog, a dark figure emerged, a replication of the boy, and it pointed at the boy still lost somewhere in the folds of darkness. "There he is!" The cruel whisper hung all around me, thick and suffocating. And as I turned, I realized the shadows were against me, weaving a greater web of confusion. The boy's laughter twisted into the echoes of the past, and as I fought against the panic rising, I wasn't sure if I was ready to confront the truth that threatened to unravel everything I thought I knew. Before I could reclaim my thoughts, the boy appeared again, manifesting in a bright flash, eyes wide with fear. Yet in a second, he vanished, swallowed whole by the darkness creeping ever closer. What was real and what was an illusion? I was losing my grip on the thread of hope that had started to bleed light into my heart, trapped in an unyielding battleground between my truth and my regrets. As shadows closed in mercilessly, and just as despair threatened to anchor me to the darkness, an unyielding belief steadied my heart. There was a choice, and I would make it. I wouldn't let anything extinguish the flicker that remained, not until the very end. The darkness that clung to the clearing pressed down on us like a vice, an oppressive cloak threatening to suffocate the flickering hope that still burned within me. All around, shadows danced, swirling with sinister laughter that mocked our courage and taunted our fears. But amidst this chaos, I could still hear the boy's frightened plea, echoing through the void, "Help me." It tugged at my heart, anchoring my resolve. I had to move forward, there was no way I could leave him behind. "Don't let it consume you," Lila urged, anchored to my side, her presence grounding me. "We're stronger together, we have to fight." "Yes," I called out, bolstered by her strength, my eyes searching for a flicker of light amid the darkness. "I won't let fear win. I won't let you go." My voice pierced the swirling shadows, each word a testament to my resolve, each syllable breaking against the gnashing darkness that threatened to swallow us whole. As I took a step forward, I felt a trembling beneath my feet, a pulse synchronized to my heartbeat, intensifying with each breath I took. I reached for the remnants of the boy's warm spirit, visualizing his bright laughter that had punctuated moments of dread. "I'm coming for you," I shouted, my voice cracking, echoing against the growing darkness. "What have you done?" A voice whispered from the shadows, a chaotic harmony of malice that warped my very essence. "You think your love and hope empower you? They will betray you, just like your memories." A monstrous shape, fluid and slithering, slunk into view, summoning its own force from the treachery of my past. I recognized the voices, the face pain embodied in the shadows. They coiled physical manifestations of regret, moments lost in a childhood marred by grief, but beneath that impending dread, I felt the warmth of Lilith's hand in mine, holding tight, urging me to confront the tangled mess of sorrow and nostalgia. "They don't define you," she shouted, her unwavering strength amplifying my own. "Face them." The shadowy tendrils gripped me, inflaming sorrowful memories, but I pushed through them, my heart pounding a steady rhythm of defiance. "No. You won't dictate my worth," I roared, channeling every ounce of anger, every stroke of love that I had craved yet kept at bay. The memories flickered and thrashed, searching for weakness to exploit. With my back straightened and my head held high, I stepped into the heart of the shadow, channeling the light of the love I had fought for all my life. "You are echoes of the past," I shouted, feeling the strength reverberate in the ground beneath me. "You hold no power over me. I embrace you, and I let you go." Suddenly, the embodiment of my fears shifted, warping as though caught in a maelstrom, and then, with a chilling cry, it fragmented into 1,000 pieces of nothingness. The darkness recoiled, shrieking as the tendrils began to retreat, dissolving into vapors of empty despair and disillusionment. The forest trembled as the boy's voice sang back to me, clear as crystal amid the cacophony, a celestial call pulling me deeper into the golden light streaming toward me. "Help me. Hold on," I cried, reality snapping back into focus, my heart racing against every beat. I surged forward through the remnants of my past, weaving my way toward the luminous essence ahead, calling out, fueled by love. "I'm here. I'm coming." And then, amidst the raw turmoil, I spotted him, the boy, emerging from behind a veil of shadows, his face marred by tears yet glowing with pure faith. He reached out, arms open wide, and the bond between us unraveled, an invisible thread stitching our fears into unity, pulling me toward him. We were connected by anguish and belief, our spirits bound by the history that had forged us both. "Don't let go." With all my force, I launched myself into his embrace, our bodies crashing together in a wave of warmth that spread from my core to the tips of my fingers. The moment we collided, I felt the shadows dissolve, leaving only the brilliant light to fill the void that I thought I lost you. I gasped, holding him tight, the weight of his presence softening every jagged edge of sorrow within me. "I'll never let you go again." The boy's eyes sparkled with unshed tears, but a smile played at the corners of his lips, a reflection of innocent hope, unwavering and pure. "You saved me," he exclaimed, giggling lightly as the last remnants of darkness shrank back against the light that embraced us. With the boy firmly in my arms, I turned to Lila, finding her fighting back her own tears. "We did it," I murmured breathlessly, hope flooding my veins, dancing with the shadows that finally receded in the light of our unity. The distorted whispers faded, and as daylight crept into the clearing, I realized that each of us had confronted our lingering grief, bonded together like gossamer threads of love amid the fabric of tragedy. The forest transformed around us, the oppressive shadows brightening into a gentle glow, tranquil and warm like the most inviting embrace, bids of forgiveness and reflection intertwining with the wisdom earned through pain. Together, we had faced our ghosts, and unexpectedly found what we had sought from the beginning, healing within the heart of our shared grief. In the embracing warmth of that newfound light, my eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow but of release, for I finally understood that it was through love, laughter, and the courage to embrace my truth that I could forge a brighter path. Hand in hand, we walked out of the forest, the boy nestled between us, like a fragile promise that the power of love would see us through the darkest storms. And as I glanced back at the shadows, I whispered a soft farewell, not an end, but a Beganinga truth I carried in my heart forevermore. I am enough, and so are we. I and the fragrant breeze, whispers of hope scattered like petals, a reminder that sometimes it takes getting lost to truly find oneself, and to know that even in the darkest of woods, one can uncover the brightest of lights.